You should never buy another herb again from a grocery store. And the reason is simple. Once you've tasted some from your home garden, you'll never go back. Today I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to start and grow your own herbs in containers or in the ground. At the end I'll have a bonus tip, how to get additional use out of the herbs you grow in your home garden. Lots of herbs we can grow in our gardens. Basil, thyme, parsley. In this garden right behind me we have rosemary and a few different types of oregano. The neat thing about herbs is you can create your own microclimates and grow them in small containers where you can be moving them around and have them in spots where you can kind of ignore your zone as long as you pay attention to the microclimate. So the most important part of growing almost anything, and especially herbs, is really healthy soil. And I define really healthy soil by soil that is full of beneficial microbiology, so beneficial bacteria and fungi and protozoa and good nematodes. The more work you do on your soil in terms of building it full of life, the less you will need to use inputs like organic fertilizer, any kind of fertilizer, because the soil will be producing its own nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So to start an herb garden in containers or in the ground we'll add products like earthworm castings and good quality compost, or our products, which are essentially concentrated compost. In containers, we're going to do something very similar, except you usually need some type of potting soil. Here in our region, we have one called Black Gold that I like. There's a lot of good potting soils that you can use. Then I would add to it products to make sure that bagged soil is full of beneficial life. Again, the same things that I mentioned that we're going to put it in the ground, we're going to put in the bagged soil. If you want maximum yield and flavor out of your herbs, you need to know how to prune them properly, because they're going to grow like crazy. Herbs in general don't require a lot of special pruning. You can prune them to fit your needs in terms of where you want them to grow and where you don't want them to grow, and encourage new growth. Cut it back once a year, which encourages new growth. And it's that new growth that really is very useful to us as being flavorful for, using in recipes and such. When it's done blooming is a nice time to prune it, and things like rosemary that get woody, you can prune out dead wood. And depending on how you need them, feel free to prune them anytime, because that's how you use them. One of the interesting things about pruning, and this you can almost apply to most herbs that bloom, is you'll notice that their fragrance and their flavor maximizes around the first bloom. That's the case with rosemary and with oregano. You might want to try to figure out ways to use them right as they start their blooming period. It's great to have a really tasty herb, and yet there's still something that can make all of these good things go down the drain: improper watering. We want to figure out a watering regimen that amounts to watering them as little as possible and having them look fantastic. In the ground or in containers, we want to be interactive with it, be checking the soil, and if the soil's wet, we're not going to water it. We want to get on a regimen where the top of the soil even dries out a little bit. A lot of herbs can get by on once a week watering in the ground. Things like oregano and rosemary are very water efficient, Mediterranean type plants. In containers, all depends upon your temperatures and the type of potting soil you have. But in the hot summer, it isn't unusual in small containers that you would have to water them every day. So we're not going to shy away from watering them if that's what's necessary to keep them looking lush. The only danger that we want to avoid is saturated water and saturated roots. So we don't want standing water for any amount of time. It's hard for me to say, here's how often you're going to water it, but you're going to feel the soil and you're going to determine that yourself based on how you're applying water, how your soil retains water, and your soil is going to retain water well if it's full of life. Some customers ask me, John, which herbs should I grow in containers and which should I grow in the ground? The answer is surprisingly simple. For the most part, they're interchangeable, but there are some like mint, Mint can be an aggressive grower, and if this concerns you, then you can grow it in a container and keep it so it won't get into the other parts of your garden. The way I'm growing it here, it's surrounded by concrete and edging, and it's pretty well controlled. In some zones, containers are your only option in the winter. You can keep the container in spots where you can keep it warm and keep it growing all year or most of the year. Other than those minor exceptions, I think herbs lend themselves very well to growing in the ground or in containers, and it's more your preference. When you're producing abundant herbs, the problem is abundant herbs. How do you ensure that you get the greatest amount of use from them and you never have to go buy one at the supermarket again? One of the ones that I'm an expert on, because my grandfather, John Valentino, taught me this method of drying oregano that makes oregano something that you'll almost want to put on every dish. A little odd on chow mein, but try it. There are others you can dry and create the same type of product and use it year-round. The proper harvest time is just when it starts to bloom. There's a correlation between just starting to bloom and the most flavor in the leaves. You can cut off as much or as little as you want. When we cut it, we're going to get the flowers and the leaves. We end up with bundles like this. This is the drying process, and you'll usually let it dry a couple of weeks. I don't like to let it dry too long or it loses its color completely and turns brown. You can see there's dried leaves and there's dried flowers, all good for the final product. So what I do is you just strip it into a colander. I usually use a colander that looks a little more old world than this one, but any colander will work fine. And then we just rub it into the colander, flowers and leaves. It makes it so you don't get, the big stems, and you end up with a product that looks like this. It smells fantastic. This is the finished dried oregano. So then I just pour it into the jar. I'm going to do this whole bag. I've got quite a bit here, so I'm probably going to get maybe 2 jars like this. Well, I'd recommend you use all that you make in the course of a year and then you make more, because it gets less and less aromatic and flavorful. The only way you can grow herbs like this is to subscribe to our channel. And that's a very simple thing to do, and it'll be tremendously helpful to us and allow us to keep doing videos like this that we hope help you. If this one was helpful, please like it. If you have comments, leave them below, and if you have questions, we'll answer them. So if you want to branch out a little beyond only growing herbs, you can grow tomatoes and corn and all kinds of things that will taste better than those you buy in the supermarket. Check out this video of ours. Chip, introduce Kobe, and then we have Piper. Oh yeah, Piper wants to be on camera.
Yeah, Piper's.
What do you think? Perfect, right? What are you going to use it in?